In the world of mixed martial arts, wrestling is widely considered the most important base and the common skill set for all the best fighters in the world. There have been quite a few dominant world champions with wrestling backgrounds, but few have taken these skills and turned them into a winning system in the same way Daniel Cormier did while making his way to become a UFC double champion.
The reigning, defending, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world!
While many fighters blend wrestling into their broader skill set, Cormier weaponized his already mastered skills, evolving his techniques to fit into the cage fight setting. His approach to fighting wasn't built on speed, flair, or raw power. It was all about control, persistence, and dominance, the foundations he mastered on the mats throughout his wrestling career. What made Cormier so special was the way he imposed his will on his opponents, trapping them, manipulating them, and breaking them with a skill set they couldn't prepare for. Cormier's career was built on a foundation of elite wrestling. From his time as a US Olympic team member to his success in NCAA Division I, his pedigree was undeniable. His athleticism was key during his collegiate and world-level wrestling career. But when he started late in MMA, he leaned on his fundamentals and knowledge to put him at the highest level of the sport in a short amount of time. While he was inside the cage, Cormier was able to evolve very simple, consistent wrestling techniques into ways to dominate the best fighters in the world for a long time, making it the equalizer against the most dangerous strikers on the planet. The high crotch single leg isn't an uncommon technique. It's taught at the youth level across wrestling gyms worldwide. But when Cormier hit it, it was a thing of beauty. As seen in his fight against Alexander Gustafsson at UFC 192, in a back and forth battle where Gustafsson had even secured takedowns in earlier rounds, Cormier's relentless pressure started to take a toll. Near the beginning of the first round, Cormier dipped low, changed levels seamlessly, and exploded into Gustafsson's hips, securing the high crotch. Despite Gustafsson's height and reach advantage, Cormier's technique allowed him to lift Gustafsson and bring him down to the canvas with significant force. His ability to dip, change levels, and explode into his opponent's hips with seemingly perfect timing was second to none. He didn't rely on power alone. His explosive, fluid execution of the move allowed him to lift opponents off the mat with ease. His athleticism, for his size and physical condition, was amazing. But what set him apart was his ability to repeat the technique over and over without sacrificing energy. Whether it was round 1 or round 3, Cormier hit that single leg with the same intensity, making it an exhausting experience for his opponents in the cage, who weren't seeing that level of wrestling in the gym during their training camps. Yet, as effective as his high crotch single leg was, it was just the beginning. If his opponents defended the first shot, Cormier flowed seamlessly into the next move, whether it was an inside trip, a well-timed foot sweep, or a beautiful lat drop. Cormier's chain wrestling was relentless. His ability to chain wrestling wasn't just hitting takedowns. It was controlling the pace of the fight, draining his opponent's energy to the point of exhaustion, especially in the heavyweight division. Cormier's years of wrestling allowed him to develop elite cardio in the cage, something most heavyweights don't have. The high crotch technique was his go-to, but Cormier used his chain wrestling skills to score many different takedowns. If one didn't work, it was on to the next. From a high crotch to running the pipe to try and score that single leg to a sneaky trip or foot sweep, and even to the surprising lat drop. He was able to manipulate and surprise his opponents. Nobody was able to react and perform at the same speed as Cormier. They were worried about defending a single leg, and then all of a sudden, Cormier has an over-under position and is dropping them onto their back and into side control. But what truly set Cormier apart was his fight IQ. His wrestling was cerebral, creative, and overwhelming. He made reads on his opponent in real time during exchanges on the feet and in wrestling scrambles, let alone all the work he did in film study before the fight. In one fight, Cormier landed 3 distinct takedowns: a powerful hip toss from a body lock, a clean single leg, and a high crotch lift that sent legendary champion Dan Henderson flying and landing on his back, while a shocked crowd and commentary were almost quiet. As Cormier's career progressed, his game evolved. He wasn't the young, explosive athlete he once was, but his fundamentals never wavered. Against fighters like Anthony "Rumble" Johnson and Alexander Gustafsson, Cormier leaned on his wrestling and tactical IQ rather than pure speed or strength. Even though he wasn't an elite submission grappler, his fight IQ and positional awareness always remained one of his biggest weapons, allowing him to take opportunities to transition to an opponent's back and lock in a rear naked choke. He had rear naked choke wins over heavy hitters like the aforementioned Dan Henderson, Derek Lewis, and 2 against the dangerous Anthony "Rumble" Johnson. He smothered dangerous strikes, pressured them into the clinch, and found takedowns through subtle movements and positional control rather than raw athleticism like most of the elite fighters leaned on during that time. His wrestling was always the foundation, but it was his adaptability that kept him at the top of the sport. Daniel Cormier's wrestling made every part of his game more dangerous. His opponents were so worried about his takedowns, they would forget that he is a strong, explosive athlete who could knock them out in one punch. These fears made his opponents alter their fighting stance and drop their guards, leaving an opening for Cormier's ever-evolving boxing skills to be showcased. These boxing skills developed so much that he was able to beat Stipe Miocic and finish him with an overhand right, set up by a constant threat of takedowns. Once on the ground, Cormier's wrestling made him an immovable force. His lower center of gravity, balance, and strong hips made it nearly impossible for opponents to escape his control. Even against dangerous grapplers like Anderson Silva, Cormier dominated from the top position. He wasn't hunting for submissions, he was suffocating his opponents, draining their will and their gas tank. DC's style wasn't built on a flash or quick finish. It was about control. His wrestling wasn't just a tool in his arsenal, it was the foundation of everything he did. From striking, to positioning, to overall cage control, Cormier's wrestling game made him one of the most dominant forces in UFC history. His chain wrestling, cardio, relentless pressure, and overall fight IQ created a system that his opponents simply couldn't escape. Cormier proved that wrestling, when applied with intelligence and precision, is arguably the most dominant force in MMA. While many fighters try to blend wrestling with other skills, Cormier turned wrestling into a complete game of its own. Cormier's foundation of wrestling skills and abilities he developed in his younger years turned out to be the reason he was able to become a double champion in the UFC and evolve in many ways to stay on top of the sport until he retired. Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next, where we break down the most tense 60-second fight in combat sports history. We will explore the science of striking analyzing Rod Tang and Takeru's unique and devastating approaches. So be sure to check out that video by clicking the screen now. And as always, Christian from the Modern Martial Artist, we wish you happy training.